Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. As I'm sure you could have guessed, today we're planting some more soybeans. We have a handful of more fields to get done. The corn planter, though, which is much quicker, has only 2 small fields left. The finish line is in sight at this point. As long as it stays dry, we should be done within the next couple of days. And, of course, as long as nothing goes terribly wrong. So, everyone repeat after me. Today, we are not going to get stuck. We are not going to run anything over. And we're going to cover a lot of acres. That's probably all wishful thinking, but it never hurts to try. We are going to head over to the seed shed, put some Asgrow 3.5 XtendFlex soybeans in the seed tender, and we're gonna get started planting. If you enjoy what you see, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get to work. I haven't loaded from the conveyor in a few days. Been picking up a lot of Pioneer seed beans. Did we get lined up right? Pretty close. Well, we're on the tarp bow. We'll pull up a tiny bit more. 35 XF1s. Keep going. Whoa. Go forward more. That's good. Pick it up. Real fun to work with. Foot more. Whoa. Pick it up. Well, we've already had a rough start to the day. I was going to put the ladder down on the seed tender and about knocked myself out. We're going to put a bag of 3/7s on the back of the seed tender for the next field. Do it while we have the help. I'm telling you, a lot of Fridays end up feeling like Mondays, especially when stuff like this happens. Should be all right. Don't think I need any stitches. Was a little bit bloody though. What are you doing all the way over here? Jess, you look like you lost weight. Have you been dieting? All that running. Dad's leaving with some seed corn. I assume he's gonna go load his planter and finish up the last few fields, one of which is behind the farm here. Looks like he's got a white inlet to go around. It's actually impressive that we still have those white inlets around. I'm slowly replacing them with orange ones one by one. As for the culprit of my head injury, I was going up here to check the placement of the seed on the seed tender here, and I went to pull the ladder down, and I misinterpreted how long it was, and just bonked myself with one part of it. I don't know. Thankfully, I'm pretty thick-skulled, so it didn't hurt that bad, or at least not yet. If that's the worst thing that happens to us today, we're in good shape. Let's go load some beans. Different reasons that you plant different varieties of seed. On the soybean side, you have different maturities, so your 3.1s, your 3.4s, your 3.5s, your 3.7s, all the numbers in between, above, below. Those determine how soon they'll be ready to harvest. There's a larger difference between soybeans than just how they mature. Each different number is a different set of genetics and has a different family lineage. They all have different agronomic traits and perform differently on different soils and in different climates. For instance, this 3.5 XtendFlex soybean we're about to plant is very good on about every type of acre. We're putting it on one of our lighter, more marginal fields. Hopefully it responds to those conditions and yields well. Other numbers have different advantages. Take the 3.7 XtendFlex soybean, for example. It is much more capable on very highly productive ground. That's not to say that the 3.5s cannot outperform the 3.7s on different fields, because that's entirely dependent on the microclimate in that area. But you want to place your hybrids and varieties in locations where they're going to succeed. The 3.5 is much more adaptable, where the 3.7 likes to be put on very good ground. You have to keep that in mind when you pick your varieties and hybrids. And we are off. No major mishaps since I hit myself in the head with a ladder. Here's to a good day of planting soybeans. Depth check. Inch in the ground. I think we'll take that. We've pretty much got this planter dialed in at this point. We've made it all the way around the outside of the field one time. We're starting our second pass. Something that you have to be really careful about in this lighter ground when you're no-tilling is your rows not sealing up behind the planter. This is an indicator that the ground here is a tad bit too wet. Unfortunately, it's just a problem we have on the south end of this field. Through the rest of it, it should be fine. The irony of this situation is that this part of the field would respond very well to a field cultivator, but this is also the same part of the field that would respond very poorly to the combination of a field cultivator and a heavy rain. If we no-till into this vertical tilled ground and we get a rain here in the next couple days to a few weeks, it should be fine. Anywhere where that seed trench does not close completely is going to dry out. There's no quicker way to dry dirt than an open seed trench. It shouldn't be a major issue, but it is something to keep in mind when you're out here planting. I planted a little bit more, and I thought that the areas where the trenches weren't sealing was isolated to the south end, and it seems like a large majority of this farm, except for the few spots we've freshened up with the field cultivator, are having trouble sealing. What that tells me is there's not enough loose soil in the top inch of the ground. We have a couple of options here. One, we can just plant it and hope it rains, which is very risky to do. Two, we can get a field cultivator out here and field cultivate the rest of the farm, and I'll sit here and wait. Or three, we wait out here for 3 or 4 hours, let the sun and the wind do their thing, and try to plant the rest of the farm. That's probably the most realistic idea other than bringing a field cultivator. I'm gonna call the boss and see what we can do. All of these slots across the planter are open. Too wet. If you can see the seed without digging, you shouldn't be planting. Okay, I talked to the boss. We're gonna try and plant it. We're gonna make a slight adjustment to the planter closing wheels. We're gonna put them on the strongest spring tension. We're also gonna add downforce to the row units up in the cab. This may work, it may not work. I'll probably start snapping these T-handles and springs. That's usually what goes on when you put them all the way down. Those are all adjusted. We're gonna give it a shot. The sun is out and it's warming up, which will help us. Every minute it gets by and gets warmer, the soil dries up, will give us a little bit more loose dirt to close these trenches. We're gonna go give it a shot. I made one round after adjusting the closing wheels, and it's hard to say that it didn't make a positive difference. We're still running into some issues. Areas are not sealing up. Even the areas that are sealing up here aren't really sealing that well. Oh boy. Hitting the pause button for a while. I think if we come back here in a few hours, should be a lot better. These cool mornings and the 50 to 60 degree highs we've had during the days are kind of a double-edged sword. One, the ground's not drying as fast because it's not as warm as it was last week when it was 70, almost 80 degrees at a certain point. And secondly, when you get close to freezing temperatures in the morning, it brings up a lot of moisture from down in the subsurface area of the soil and puts it up at the top layer. That's pretty much what we're running into on these lighter farms that we're working on now. They're dry in the afternoon, but come early morning to mid-morning, that moisture wicks its way up back in the topsoil, and we have to wait for it to dry again. Now, if we had came out and hit this whole field with the field cultivator, it would be in perfect shape right now to plant. That would have loosened and aerated the soil and dried it out quite a bit. We've already sprayed it with our Zidua Pro. We don't really want to work that in, so we're just going to wait and see what this afternoon brings. We do have a few other farms down the road that I'm confident would plant. The problem is that we have almost a 3/4 full seed tank in here, and I don't want to have to dump that to go to a different variety. It's easier just to wait. At least it's dry enough for the corn planter. What would have taken me an hour and a half took him 30 minutes. It helps that all this soybean stubble was field cultivated a couple days in advance. Corn ground is usually drier just because it doesn't have as much residue. It's okay, the sun's out, our field should be drying as we speak. Get back to it in no time. I was having a discussion with Dad, and we were talking about the white inlet I snapped off over on the farm yesterday, and he said that that inlet that I hit and this white inlet here are the last 2 white inlets remaining on the farm. You can see we got a yellow one down there, but at one point in time it was like that. Someone, probably that someone right there, hit it and snapped it off. Maybe Dad will do us a favor and run this one over. No pressure. No one's watching you if you run it over. We won't snitch. He's got a much different strategy to it than I do. Oh, he hit it. close. He could have just done us a favor and snapped it off. Take number 2. You got it, boss. There we go. Plenty of room this time around. I'm giving him a hard time, but that planter is 20 foot wider than the soybean planter I run all day, and that makes that much more difficult to navigate around inlets, and he hits a lot less than I do. Now, I try to get as close as possible. He usually just lifts up and goes over them. Well, there's not much work to be done other than Mother Nature drying our ground. So I'm gonna go inside here at Mom and Dad's and take a little nap. Wake up! It looks like our 2-hour hiatus helped us out a little bit. We'll get out here in a second, check and see if those rows are closing up. What a difference that 2 hours of sunshine and drying makes on this soil. It's closing up a lot better now. It's not exactly ideal, far from problematic though. Nothing short of divine intervention is gonna save the ones I planted earlier. They better be praying for a rain or they're not gonna survive. Looks like my grandpa's just right next to us planting some corn. Oh, look what it is. Something we haven't seen in 12 hours. A tile hole. I don't understand what's up with all these tile holes this year. We are nearing the end of this field. We're gonna run out of seed long before we reach that finish line though. We needed to add an additional 10 loose bags to the seed tender on top of the 2 bulk bags we added for this farm. And I don't know if it was my head trauma or what, but we forgot to do that. So Chris just showed up with the pickup. I'm gonna load these bags into the planter. Hopefully I don't pass out from the hard work. Those 6 extra bags of beans didn't last very long. Good thing I've got 4 more. Should finish the field, or at least I hope. That's why I like the strategy of having extra loose bags on the back of the planter. I'm all the way on the far side of the field. It would have been a real pain to get a truck back here with seed. We do have to deal with these empty bags. Still better than driving the other side of the field. What in the world is that? You all right, buddy? In today's episode of Interesting Things You Find in the Field, a duck decoy. Not that strange, but definitely unexpected. Better not be making any noise while we travel here. We are this close to being done with the field, and my population is starting to drop off. I shouldn't have made any mention of loading seed on the far end of the field, because I may have to do that. Never mind, I was just being prematurely dramatic. We made it to the end, and we didn't run out of seed. If you're pretty much empty on the last through, I guess you planned your seed right. On to the next one. Hopefully this railroad crossing is well built. Oh, don't fall on me. Rolling some more of these beans. Saw a chunk of some in there and we caught it before it's too late. Since we're going to some more productive, fertile, dark soil, we're going to need these closing wheels. So much spring tension on them. Like I said, try to avoid having them that strong unless it's absolutely unavoidable. Jeff and I got those all adjusted to where they need to be. Time to go plant some more beans. Katie's over here field cultivating a field that I think I'll get to tomorrow. We've adjusted our game plan to compensate for that wet ground on top, hitting it with the field cultivator, breaking it open. That way when I plant tomorrow, we won't have any problems with the seed bed sealing up. And on the north side of the road, we got Nutrients spraying some Acuron on some freshly planted corn ground. Beautiful day. We need to assign our 37 XF1s to the whole planter. That's not what I wanted. There we go, assign variety to rows. 37 XF1, 1 through 32. They're all a tan color. All right. We're good to go. Let's go plant some beans. It's nice to be back on good, black, field cultivated dirt. No issues with the roads closing. Perfect seed bed. I'm telling you, this is the kind of dirt you want across your whole farm. Pretty shallow through there. We'll put them in the ground a tad bit more and they'll be good to go. It's only a small little patch we're working on. It's all the ground though that we've got dry enough to plant today. Hopefully there's more tomorrow. What the duck do you think you're doing? That's my seed. I wonder if this qualifies me for workers' comp. Take a couple days off during the middle of planting season. Don't think anyone in our family would mind that at all. Regardless though, we're gonna have to reset our days since the last accident sign. Let's put it at 0. I think before we were at 0 as well. Things just happen every day. Wow, we've got this dialed in. Running out of seed as we cross the finish line of this field. Not bad. Almost like we do this for a living. As I said earlier, this is the last field that we have dry enough to plant today. We're putting some XtendFlex beans in the ground here. We're moving on tomorrow morning to a field that is straight Xtend. This is one of the rare opportunities that we get to switch between two herbicide platforms and not have to worry about cleaning out the planter. When you go from XtendFlex to an Xtend bean, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of intermixing, because the only product you can apply on an Xtend bean that's a herbicide trait is the Xtend or the dicamba. The XtendFlex beans are traded for dicamba as well, so you don't have to worry about any rogue beans out there dying from the herbicide application here in another couple weeks. The other convenient box that's checked is we're going from a shorter season bean in this field to a longer season bean up the road. This was a 3.7 and we're moving to a 3.9 Pioneer Xtend. Basically, to sum it all up, my life's pretty easy right now. It wasn't too far of a jog down the road to get back here to the bin site where the tractor's gonna stay for the evening. Like I said, we ran out of dry ground. We're waiting on these fields that we're hitting with the field cultivator to dry out a little bit. It'd be a little premature to come out here on this light dirt right now and plant them. By tomorrow morning though, it should be in perfect shape. Nutrients out here in this field as we speak. I think they're on the other side of the property, spraying Zidua SC, I believe, not Zidua Pro. Since we drug iron through the field, we don't need the burn down or the sharpened portion of that product. We just need the residual control. So they're layering that down on top. I'll come in here tomorrow morning, put some soybeans in the ground. Other than that though, that's gonna conclude our work for the evening. I kept two of my promises this morning, not to get stuck and not to run over anything. I didn't quite get the third one done though, which was covering a lot of ground. Unfortunately, we have no control over how fast the ground dries. I would have liked to get a couple more fields done this evening. The cards did not fall that way though. We'll come out here tomorrow morning, hit the ground running. Hopefully it'll be a big day since we have the field cultivator going way ahead of us and aerating out this ground. I hope to see you guys in the next episode. I really appreciate you tuning in. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day everyone. Peace.